The story of Roanoke began in 1584 when explorer Sir Walter Lake, an English statesman, asked Queen Elizabeth I's permission to establish a colony in the New World. She quickly granted him permission since an English presence in North America would provide a strategic passage to the West Indies. He sent out a resonance expedition later that year which reported back that Roanoke Island was well suited for a colony. It was on the water, had plenty of resources, and the local Native American tribes seemed peaceful and friendly. Encouraged by first expedition's finding, Raleigh arranged a much larger expedition that set sail in 1585. This time he sent around 600 soldiers and seamen under the command of his cousin, Sir Richard Grenville, who was a naval commander, but unfortunately this expedition did not go as well as the previous one. Conflict soon arose between Englishmen and the member of local Secton tribe, and the settlers fled back to the Europe in 1586. Still, Raleigh was determined to make his settlement work, and in the summer of 1587, over 100 English settlers arrived in Roanoke Island. The group was made up of approximately 19 men, 17 women, and 11 children, among them John White, who was to be the governor of colony. He was accompanied by his wife and daughter, Eleanor Dare. In August, Eleanor gave birth to Virginia Dare, the first English child born in the Americas. But only a few months after the settlers arrived, they found themselves in desperate need of supplies. It was decided that White would sail back to England and return with the things they needed. However, once he arrived, he found that war had broken out between English and Spain. In order to combat the formidable Spanish Armada, Queen Elizabeth ordered that every ship available to be conscripted into the fight. Unfortunately, John White was unable to return to Roanoke until 1590, but when he arrived, he found no traces of colony or the family he left behind. All that remained was the word Croatoan carved into a gatepost and crow etched into a nearby tree. The Roanoke colonists were never seen again, and White never learned what happened to them. Now, there are majorly four theories revolving around the disappearance of people of Roanoke. Now, all these theories are very different from each other and might force you to think about it for a while, but they do contain a lot of interesting information with them. The first theory is one of the oldest and the most popular theories about the fate of missing colonists is closely linked to the carving left behind at the Roanoke site. Croton Island, known today as Hatteras Island, was 50 miles south of the settlement. Many believed that carvings were a message left behind by the colonists to tell White they are gone. It's widely accepted that Croton Island played some part in the fate of colonists, but to what extent is still the subject to debate. Upon learning that the colonists had abandoned Roanoke, White immediately wanted to sail to Croton Island to investigate. But damage to the ship forced them to turn back to England before the rescue mission even could be completed. Another theory is that the settlers were struggling to survive, so they broke into smaller groups and dispersed to different areas throughout what is now North Carolina. With dwindling supplies, historian Eric Kleingelhofer argued that it was not likely that the Roanoke colonists would have traveled anywhere as one big group. He further says no single Indian tribe or village could have supported them. They would be even larger than some villages. Another popular theory is that the colonists developed a friendly relationship with some of indigenous people living in the area. As time went on and it became clear that outside help would not be arriving, they eventually became integrated into local tribes. However, in 2007, efforts began to collect and analyze DNA from local people to see if they had any relation to Roanoke settlers. But so far, it appears that project hasn't made any headway. Well, there are several theories that presume the colonists voluntarily left Roanoke and simply lived elsewhere in obscurity. There are others that consider a much gruesome fate for the people of Roanoke. As the only English settlement on the continent and compromised of families rather than military, the inhabitants of Roanoke were vulnerable to attack. Earlier expeditions to the sites to check its sustainability for a settlement had already stirred up the conflict with the second tribe. This could be the case the colonists were massacred in a face-off with local Native Americans who were resentful of settlers' presence and the disruption of their way of life. There is also a possibility that Spanish forces traveled north from their territories in Florida and slaughtered the colonists during the ongoing tension between the two imperialist powers. Whatever the case may be, researchers are still searching for answers all these years later. Or perhaps the answer to the disappearance of Roanoke people will never be known. Thanks for watching this video. If you like the video, consider subscribing to my channel for further updates. Until next time.